Hi, today, as a part of optimizing Java applications for IBM Cloud, we're going to review migrating a simple application from Apache Tomcat to IBM Bluemix. After you complete this exercise, you should understand how to resolve incompatibilities in migrating an application targeted for Tomcat to IBM Bluemix. And secondly, how to test the application on Tomcat before migrations. Third, how to prepare a sample application we picked for the demo for the Bluemix. Fourth, how to migrate a forum application to Bluemix. Before we dive into demo, there are a list of tools we need to download and install. So let's get started out with the JDK. We need a Java runtime and associated development kits, which is 1.7 or greater. And we also need a Eclipse Mars, which we will use it as integrated development environment for Java to edit, test, and run. And we also need a IBM Eclipse tools for the Bluemix to make the deployment to Bluemix easier from your local environment through the Eclipse. Next is the application assessment tools. This will help us to understand many great points before we migrate an application from local environment to the Bluemix. We're going to download and install Tomcat 7 for the demo, where we will deploy our simple applications to testing locally. And we're going to download the simple code from the GitHub, which we named it as Migration Scenario 1. Then we're going to end downloading a database, which we will use it locally to support the simple application. Now I'm going to download and install tools, which I listed in the previous slides. So the first steps, I came to the Oracle Java download site. I'm looking for a suitable JDK, which provides runtime and packages to enable development locally. So since I'm running on Windows 7, I need Windows 64-bit JDK. I click on this one and it downloads into the designated folder locally. So I'm going to double click the downloaded binaries and it's asking for my password to run it as administrator. I'm going to pretty much let the default value to be selected to install the development tools and source code in case I want to look at the Java code while I'm coding. And I like to also install the Java runtime environment as well. So let it run. Now I'm at the Eclipse download site. I'm going to download a particular version of Eclipse, which is Mars, for this demo. Since my window is running on 64-bit of a Windows 7, so I'm going to click on this one. So in the essence of time, I've already went through the steps to download the Eclipse IDE, which will show here through my Chrome browsers. And as you can see, I've downloaded here. So the Eclipse is a binary packages where you don't need to run any executables. All you have to do is unzip it and then place it wherever you want to, because the package itself self-contains and all the necessary binaries and configurations it needs to run. So as far as the demo is concerned, I've moved all the Eclipse files here within the demo folder. I've created migration workspace which Eclipse will use. So let me get into the folder and run Eclipse. And I'm going to point to the migration workspace, which I just created as my workspace. Click OK. Then I'm gonna click OK to open the Eclipse. Now the Eclipse is installed on your local machine. Make sure if you go to the Windows and Preference, go to Java. In a previous step, we've installed the JDK 1.8 and 66, which is the latest version of Java. And you can do either add, but in my case, I've already added that in. So if I may show where that is, this is the installation folder of JDK, which I just pointed to, so that the make sure your Eclipse is using your latest Java version. We now have Eclipse installed. The next step is to install IBM Eclipse tools for the Bluemix. We are under Help and then go to the Eclipse Marketplace. And I'm going to type in IBM Bluemix and go. You'll see IBM Eclipse tools for the Bluemix, and click on Install and follow through all the steps it requires to install the plugin for the Eclipse. I've already done it in the essence of time for the demo. Now I need to verify whether the plugin installation was correctly done. In my case, I've already had a server's view up. If you don't see it, then go to the Windows, Show View, Others, and you'll see the server folder, and click Servers and OK. Now I'm gonna look at all the available server profiles. One of them is IBM, which I just installed. If you see IBM Bluemix, then installation is success. Next tool is I'm going to download and install Migration Toolkit for application binaries. This particular app scanner is awesome in my opinion because it provides me with enhancement points before the migration occurs. So I'm going to click on this download button, which will download the binary scanner.jar file into my local folder. I'm going to move this jar file to the same folder locally so that I'll have all the tools I need for the demo at one place, which I already did. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open command line. I'm going to type in Java jar binary app scanner installer.jar to install the binary scanner installer. I click on enter, and if I don't want to see all the license terms, then I'm gonna X to skip, and I'm gonna agree to the licensing terms. Target folder is where all my installation tools are located at. So I enter that in. I'm gonna click enter. Once the installation is completed, then you will see the WAMT folder. When I go in, a binary app scanner.jar files installed in there with the license files. Now we need a local application server. In our demo, we're going to use Apache Tomcat version 7. So I came to the Apache Tomcat download site, which provides a 7th version of Tomcat. And I scroll down. I'm looking for a suitable Tomcat for my operating system. This is what I need. So I click on this one. I did that prior to the demo so that I can save some time. It will download locally to a local folder. So what I did was, again, in the same approach as the previous steps, where I install the Tomcat to the same place where all the other tools are located at. It does not require any executables to run in order to install. All you have to do is unzip it and put it to place wherever you need to install. So I did that, and you will see the bin file under Tomcat folder. And since I'm running out of Windows operating system, I'm going to run the startup bat. I see the server started up in 1410 milliseconds. I am going to verify whether it was installed correctly or not by typing in local http local host 8080. If you see this screen, now then you have Tomcat installed properly on your machine. Next, we need a simple application. We don't want to start a new application from scratch, so we had a simple application uploaded into the github.com. If you can type in this address, you will find IBM ECOD directory. Under that directory, you'll find the migration scenario 1 projects, which will contain forum war, which we will use it as a simple application for the demo. I want to have all these materials available in my local folder, so I'm going to click on download zip. Then it will download all the materials contained within the master folder into the zip file. As I did before, I'm going to move the zip file into the migration lab demo folder. I unzipped it, so you will see the forum war. Next, we need a database to support the simple application. For the sake of our demo, we are going to download Apache Derby database. As I did with the other tools, I am going to look for what's suitable for my Windows operating system, which I choose to download the bin.zip file here. I clicked on it. Then it will download this zip file into my local folder. And as I did with the other tools, I'm going to the lab demo folder where all the other tools are installed. Then I unzipped it. Then you see this installation folder where I see the bin to start the start network server bat is what I'm looking for. Lastly, we're going to download and install WAS Migration Toolkit for Eclipse. So I'm back on Eclipse. I'm going to go to Eclipse Marketplace. I'm going to look for WAS Migration Toolkit. Then go find me. And in this case, I'm going to install Comparative Tools 8.5.5. This particular plugin will be used as a software analyzer before the migration to the WebSphere application server. If my application happened to be deployed to any other comparative application server, such as Tomcat or the Oracle or any other application servers for that matter. So if you click on install, then it will install all the pertinent binaries into your Eclipse. In this case, I've already went ahead installed that for the Eclipse. Before we start deep diving into the migration demo, let's briefly talk about the simple application. It is an EasyJSP Forums, which is an open source project that resembles a forum where users can sign in, edit member information, post, and reply to the threads. So before the migration, we're going to simulate the on-premises the Easy Forum application running on Tomcat application server with a Derby database to interact with. And after migration is completed to the IBM Bluemix, This application will be running in the Bluemix cloud using the Liberty for Java runtime and the SQL database as a cloud service. Now let's start talking about the testing the application on Tomcat before migration. The first step I'd like to get us through is I'm going to go back to the Eclipse IDE. I brought up the server view. I'm going to configure the Tomcat server. So as simple as it can be, what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on the empty space and new, click on server. I'm going to look for Apache Tomcat 7 profile. I'm going to name it as localhost. It's going to have an Apache Tomcat version 7 runtime environment, and simply click finish. So basically what we did was locally configure in version 7 Tomcat to be ready to run. So next step is to bring in the JSP forum application source code into the Eclipse. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open the file, import. I'm going to bring it in the forum war file from the code base, which we downloaded from the GitHub a while ago, and then click next. I'm going to locate the forum war file. This is the unzipped file after I downloaded from the GitHub, and I'm going to select the forum.war, then open it. Make sure the target runtime is still pointing to the Apache Tomcat 7 out of many other options you have. Click next and finish. So this will unzip the Word file and bring in the package, which is editable through the Eclipse. So you see the source code here, and then the runtime environment, and for the Apache Tomcat runtime environment is also downloaded in, and all other pertinent files to run the forum application. Next, I'm going to configure the Derby database. I'm gonna navigate back to the Derby database where it is installed. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm gonna go back to the forum package which I downloaded from GitHub, locate the forum db zip file. Once you extract all, it will extract this folder including these files, and I'm going to copy and move it to Derby database bin folder and paste it. So basically that's what I did ahead of time in the essence of time. Now, as simple as it can be, all I'm going to do is I'm going to start network server.bat. I'm going to double click on this one to start the Derby database server. Another option is you can also kick this one off from the command line using the command line tools here. Right now, let me double click it, and I'm going to run it. All right, so now it's started and you're ready to accept the connections on the port 1527. The next step is the deploy the forum application to the Tomcat server, which we just installed through the Eclipse. So let me navigate back to the Eclipse. What I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on forum, projects, from the package explorer, run as, run on server, choose the Tomcat 7 server at the local host, which we just configured. Click on next, and we need to add forums. Make sure that it is under the Tomcat container, the forum application which we will deploy to the Tomcat application server, and click finish. Now, as you can see, it's starting up, and the server already started up. And once it starts, then there will be a web browser coming up. If you don't worry about it. You can either open it up through Chrome, Firefox, or Internet Explorer, or any of the web browser in your preference. You can bring that up at the address bar, type in localhost :8080/forum as a root context, and click enter. Then you will see this main page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to log in. I'm going to use the username password admin. Click on login. I've logged in to the forum application at this point. I can click on the forum, and if I want to add a new forum, then Migration Lab, topics on Migration Lab. I'm going to create. I'm going to go back to the home. You see the new forum which I just created, Migration Lab. I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to create a new thread. Why don't I talk about the tool that can be used to analyze migration enhancements, and you can add whatever content you want to post it out to the general population to see, and are expecting the response back. And click post. Now you see the entry which I just created under the migration tool forums, Migration Lab forums, and you can have anybody to respond to it. So now it completes the getting ready, the tools ready to deploy the forum application to Tomcat, and we also integrated a Derby database to work with the application server, which when it runs a forum application, it will interact with it to edit, create, delete the data of all the forum related data items. And we just looked at in how to create new forums and how to create a new threads. In this section, we will be talking about how to prepare the forum application for Bluemix. So in a previous section, we prepared the forum application, which is a simple application that we picked from GitHub, deployed to the application server called Tomcat, and run it in a local environment. So treat them as your own premises application. First of all, before I deploy the forum application to the cloud, I would want to analyze exactly what are the steps or the things that I need to enhance to make the forum application more the cloud ready. Now, one of the ways which we can analyze the software is to use the application assessment tool, which we downloaded and installed in a previous section. After your installation, you should have seen the WAMT directory created, and then when you expand it, you will see the binary app scanner. We're going to use this binary app scanner to scan form war file, so that it will generate the high-level analysis result telling what type of technologies are compatible with which IBM provided WebSphere application servers. And secondly, more detailed report I'm looking for a particular enhancement at a certain component that make up forum application. So let me get to the demo of what I'm referring to. So what the first step I did was I brought up the command prompt and I navigated back to the WAMT folder, as I mentioned it previously. And I'm going to execute binary app scanner against forum Word file. What I did is that I let the Java know, hey, run the binary app scanner, and the target file is the foreign Word file. So I'm going to click enter. It's scanning the file. And after execution, the binary app scanner produces a HTML file called the technology report HTML. What it contains is in the vertical, this column that I'm pointing to, are the particular segments of technology making up forum application. You see the sublet pages, which makes up the UI portion of it, and transaction API, then API for the XML processing. And it also contains the database connectivities and management JMS extension components. Now I feel more confident that all these technologies are supported by the IBM Bluemix, which has a liberty for Java runtime. You can also check against the other types of a WebSphere application servers if your on-premises applications are compatible to run on these servers. So first indicator, I am already feeling confident. Next, I want to look at the compositional aspect of a code I wrote for the forum application, for example. In case we have an application running on premises, we're going to execute another command calling the hey Java, run the binary app scanner jar. At this time, run against the forum war. I want you to analyze migration details. And the last parameter I'm going to pass in to the binary app scanner is my target app server is Bluemix. So once I execute this command, what it does is it's looking for enhancement points and analyze the forum application, and it generates the recommendations targeted for the Bluemix. So if I may go back, and this is a report it just generated, an analysis report.html. Once we get into the details of HTML file, there are many analysis report came back. Some of the noticeable items that I see is, if I may go in, avoid creating new process instances. Looking at more detail as to which component creates an instance of a database has to do with a Derby. Meaning that, okay, I'm not going to use Derby database once I migrate to the Bluemix, so I am okay that I don't have to make these changes within the forum application at the code level. But at the same time, I want to make sure how, in fact, this will work once forum application is deployed to the Bluemix. In the cloud environment, there is a SQL database as a service. It will be provided to work with a forum application. The way I will connect to the SQL database is through the port binding. So as far as the application is concerned, there's no need of creating explicitly a new instance of a data and manage it by the application at all. So this one, it's good information, but I don't have to worry about it. Next is avoid writing to the local file system. So I'm going to look at all the components, see which component is specifically creating all these physical dependencies on a physical file and physical directory to store that file on a physical machine. These are all Derby related. So my first concern is proving that I don't have to worry about this. But secondly, I want to make sure that why I'm not worrying about this, because all this logging requirement still exists for any applications coming from the on-premises even after you migrate to the cloud. There are multiple ways to maintain the log files within the cloud. One of the options is working with a software, creating a physical dependencies, for example, object storage to store your file to that, so that after the cloud resets or the server recycles, you still can access and guarantees the existence of the physical files and the physical structures. If you don't, then there's no guarantee that such a file or the structure to house such a logging file will exist when the server recycles. So that's what it means. In the cloud, you cannot really depend on any physical dependencies on a physical machine, because it can be shared resources. If I'm looking at another pointers, it recommends you to use in SQL database services. Thank you. And thanks for noticing that. And then drive managers and interfaces requires in configuration. All this configuration, now what it's saying is that I don't have to have dependencies to consume it from either physical files or a database. None of those matters. Besides, I cannot really depend on it when migration occurs to the Bluemix, which is cloud environment. But instead of that, I can capture all my application specific configuration. For say, if you like, you can important integration specific configuration can come from the VCAP services. Once you create an instance of, for example, a SQL database services, you will see all the necessary information to connect to the database that the forum application needs to know in order to store the customer entered data. Otherwise, you can use user-defined environment variables, where you can store an application usable variables to store. And during the runtime, you can extract configuration from that section. So that's what it says. At this point, from application assessment tools, we've looked at two different types of a report. One, in high level, it tells me whether my on-premises application is applicable to which type of servers to support. And it shows that the IBM Bluemix environment, the runtime will support all the components I built into the forum application. Analysis report, I'm not going to open that up, but we've looked at the detail component by component and what to enhance. Another type of software analysis can be done using the migration toolkit for the comparative migration toolkits, which we installed into the Eclipse in a previous section. So the migration toolkit for the comparative migration is provided by IBM to assist migrations from third-party application servers, in this case Tomcat server, to the WebSphere application server, Liberty, and Bluemix. The migration toolkit obviously accelerates the migrations and making them quick and cost efficient. So let me get to the demo of what I'm referring to. I navigated back to the forum application, which we imported from the Word file into the Eclipse Package Explorer. And I'm going to click on forum application at the parent level, project level, and right click it. I'm looking for software analyzer. So I'm going to click the analyzer configuration. For now, there's no configurations done, so I'm going to right click and click new. I'm going to name it Tomcat to Bluemix, and I clicked on the rules tab. So basically, there are many analysis rules applicable for your software analysis, but in our case, it's going to be from Tomcat application migration. As you can see, there are a list of options you can choose from: JBoss application migrations, either another cloud to the Bluemix, or the WebLogic, and a list of other the aspects you can look at them to analyze. We're going to choose Apache Tomcat application migration, and we're going to click set. Ensure that their source application server is Tomcat application server. In target, we're targeting for delivery for Java on IBM Bluemix. However, there are other servers available to analyze as well, but we're going to choose delivery for Java on IBM Bluemix for the demo. We stay with Enterprise Edition 6, and we stay with the Oracle Java 6 as a source Java version, target Java version. Let's go with IBM Java 7, and OK. I'm going to apply the settings we just made, and then start analyzing. So there's analysis result displayed, Tomcat to Bluemix. If I may resize this one for display, there's none produced under file review, and TLD file reviews, the Java code, there are 2 of them analyzed. Analysis report came back, and there's 1 XML analysis done. There's no recommendations for the UI piece of it. So let me take a look at the Java code review. First, Apache Tomcat to WebSphere code migrations. Ensure context lookups have corresponding deployment descriptor entries. So I'm going to look at what that means. In the boxes.java, there is a context lookup for a data source and schema called easy. And what else is there? There's a member class referring to the, again, easy database as well. At this point, as we talked about it in the previous section, we don't want to have a server dependencies to have all the details to establish connection to the database and database schema on the server configuration. And then obviously we don't want to have another embedded or the XML file dependencies to store such configuration information. Those configuration for the application should come from either VCAP services or the binding information, which is a part of a delivery deployment. So now let's take a look at the second one, what this is talking about. Delivery for the Java on IBM Bluemix. Use SQL database services. Yes, we got the same result recommended from the binary app scanner. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Let's take a look at XML file review. It recommends to use a Java EE deployment descriptors and a WebSphere binding to define resources references. So what is this talking about? This is the existing the context configuration which forum has dependencies on it, and these are being used by the application code, and it contains database servers and then schema information to access such a database, which we are trying to avoid. So how do we avoid this one? If you see these items, you can right click on it. It shows a quick fixes, and you can do the quick fix review, and you can actually fix it all. So let me look at what review comes back. You can add those information into the IBM Web Binding XML, which will be consumed when deployed to the delivery runtime, so that it can also has a reference to the easy database, as well as it puts the reference to your database as defined as a resource to the web deployment descriptors as well, instead of using the context.xml file, which is under the web metadata INF, which we should avoid. So what we can do at this time is, since we review the changes it recommends, I'm going to do a quick fix all. I'm going to make all the fixes. Then I'm going to click save. So at this moment, we've ran two different types of analysis, one using binary app scanner, the other a WebSphere competitive migration toolkits. Both are provided to you and to provide you with the very important enhancement points to make your on-premises application ready for the cloud deployment. Another type of software analysis can be done using the migration toolkit for the competitive migration toolkits, which we installed into the Eclipse in a previous section. So the migration toolkit for the competitive migration is provided by IBM to assist migrations from third-party application servers, in this case Tomcat server, to the WebSphere application server, Liberty, and Bluemix. The migration toolkit obviously accelerates the migrations, making them quick and cost efficient. So let me get to the demo of what I'm referring to. I navigated back to the forum application, which we imported from the Word file into the Eclipse Package Explorer. And I'm going to click on forum application at the parent level, project level, and right click it. I'm looking for software analyzer. So I'm going to click the analyzer configuration. For now, there's no configurations done. So I'm going to right click and click new. I'm going to name it Tomcat to Bluemix. And I clicked on the rules tab. So basically there are many analysis rules applicable for your software analysis, but in our case, it's going to be from Tomcat application migration. As you can see, there are a list of options you can choose from: JBoss application migrations, either another cloud to the Bluemix, or the WebLogic, and a list of other the aspects you can look at them to analyze. We're going to choose Apache Tomcat application migration, and we're going to click set. Ensure that their source application server is Tomcat application server. In target, we're targeting for the Liberty for Java on IBM Bluemix. However, there are other servers available to analyze as well, but we're going to choose Liberty for Java on IBM Bluemix for the demo. We stay with Enterprise Edition 6, and we stay with the Oracle Java 6 as a source Java version, target Java version. Let's go with IBM Java 7, and OK. I'm going to apply the settings we just made, and then start analyzing. So there's analysis result displayed. Tomcat to Bluemix. If I may resize this one for display, there's none produced under file review, and TLD file reviews, the Java code, there are 2 of them analyzed. Analysis report came back, and there's one XML analysis done. There's no recommendations for the UI piece of it. So let me take a look at the Java code review. First, Apache Tomcat to WebSphere code migrations. Ensure context lookups have corresponding deployment descriptor entries. So I'm going to look at what that means. In the boxes.java, there is a context lookup for a data source, and schema called easy. And what else is there? There's a member class referring to the, again, easy database as well. At this point, as we talked about it in the previous section, we don't want to have a server dependencies to have all the details to establish connection to the database and database schema on the server configuration. And then obviously we don't want to have another embedded or the XML file dependencies to store such configuration information. Those configuration for the application should come from either VCAP services or the binding information, which is a part of a delivery deployment. So now let's take a look at the second one, what this is talking about. Delivery for the Java on IBM Bluemix. Use SQL database services. Yes, we got the same result recommended from the binary app scanner. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Let's take a look at XML file review. It recommends to use a Java EE deployment descriptors and a WebSphere binding to define resources references. So what is this talking about? This is the existing the context configuration which forum has dependencies on it, and these are being used by the application code, and it contains database servers and then schema information to access such a database, which we are trying to avoid. So how do we avoid this one? If you see this items, you can right click on it. It shows a quick fixes, and you can do the quick fix review, and you can actually fix it all. So let me look at what review comes back. You can add those information into the IBM Web Binding XML, which will be consumed when deployed to the delivery runtime, so that it can also has a reference to the easy database, as well as it puts the reference to your database as defined as a resource to the web deployment descriptors as well, instead of using the context.xml file, which is under the web metadata INF, which we should avoid. So what we can do at this time is, since we review the changes it recommends, I'm going to do a quick fix all. I'm going to make all the fixes. Then I'm going to click save. So at this moment, we've ran two different types of analysis, one using binary app scanner, the other a WebSphere competitive migration toolkits. Both are provided to you and to provide you with the very important enhancement points to make your on-premises application ready for the cloud deployment. Up to this section, we have prepared the development environment, and then we moved on to deploying the simple application to the on-premises Tomcat server to run. As a second step, we ran two different types of application assessments in order to identify the enhancement point to get the forum application to get ready for the cloud deployment. Now, the next step is the exciting steps. We're going to be talking about the very first step of migrating the forum application to Bluemix. As the analysis report indicates that we will need to use the SQL database services. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the Bluemix and create a migration lab space, which I've already went ahead to do that. And we're going to create an instance of a SQL database as a service. So now let me get to the Bluemix. in the essence of time, I brought it up, the services, and I created migration lab, as you can see here. And in this screen, you will go to the catalog. If you look at the left-hand side of navigational panel, you see the services. Under services, if you click the data and analytics and scroll down, there's SQL database as a service. What this saying is that given the instance of a SQL database service, which I'm going to be creating within migration lab space, I'm going to, for now, leave the database service at the unbounded to the forum application because I haven't deployed the forum application yet to the Bluemix. Now I'm going to name the service to forum DB. And for the demo, I'm going to use free beta, but there's an option to use premium for the production grade services. Then I click create. Once you create, then this screen will pop up. Now you will click launch. I'm going to click the launch. Once I launch it, and I'm gonna get to the this screen, and I'm gonna go to the work with tables. Then this screen shows that the screen where I can create the tables. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna go back to the presentation deck. And there's example of what tables to create. We're going to create a boxes table, levels table, members table, and threads table, which tables that are needed to for the forum applications to work. And then initially, we're going to also insert 3 members so that when we deploy the forum application to the Bluemix, and then when it first runs, we will be able to log in. So I'm gonna make a copy of this, and I'm gonna go back to the Bluemix, and I just clicked on the plus sign. As you can see, there's an option to upload data from the Excel file or the from comma separated file. In this text area input, I'm gonna paste SQLs to create tables and insert initial members. I'm gonna click DDL to run. Now it created tables. The reason you're seeing this schema is because I chose to go with a free beta, but if you choose premium, you get to create your own schema as well. So now look at all these 4 tables created, and now the members table have an initial members information. At this point, we're ready to migrate forum application to the Bluemix. In the next section, we're gonna get the application ready to deploy. Now we're at the final section where we're going to configure the forum application and deploy to the Bluemix. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate back to the Eclipse. I'm gonna click on the forum project, and I'm going to import the files and some of the files that are needed to deploy to the Bluemix. So what I'm looking for is a build script which Bluemix will use when the droplet builds up the packages with the build packs. It will access build.xml to build a Word file out of the forum packages. And the other file that I need, a manifest file. I'm gonna get to further into it to explain. So once you get to this point, what I'm going to do is I want to make sure the build script is working properly. I'm going to bring up the end view and right click, add build files. Looking under the forum, click on build.xml, okay. All I want to do is, at this point, I want to verify whether building the Word file works or not. So I'm going to point on this one and double click to see if the build script runs successfully. The build ran successfully. So I'm going to verify coming back to the Package Explorer. I'm going to refresh it. There is an web starter app Word created based on end script we just ran. So next step is I'm going to get the manifest file ready. I'm going to open the text editors. And basically what it says is that this quota, when this application is deployed to, it will get deployed to 1024 megabytes. And host name will be easyforum -Daniel Cho. You can start with this name, but I definitely recommend you to use your own initial or your name to make your URL to the forum deployed to the Bluemix unique compared to others. I'm going to also name the easyforum Daniel, and I'm going to use a path here as a web starter app Word, and domain mybluemix.net. And when the forum application is deployed to the Bluemix, it will be deployed to one instance. If you want more than one, then you can specify here, and the initial memory will start with a 512 megabytes. And services it needs to be bounded to is the form DB, which we created an instance of a database service. So I'm going to click this one to save it. And what I'm going to do right now is that I'm going to get the application deployed to the Bluemix. There are multiple ways we can deploy a forum application or on-premises application of your choice to the Bluemix. One way is through the command line. You can execute the Cloud Foundry API, which you might have already installed on your machine, to deploy to the space of your choice and to the Bluemix. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use an easier way by using the IBM Bluemix tool, which we installed in a previous section. So I came back to navigate back to the server view. I'm going to right click, new, server. At this time, I'm going to choose IBM Bluemix. Definitely want to use Bluemix runtime environment. Click next. I'm going to type in my Bluemix account information. And there are two different regions. Now, obviously, I am from the United States, so I'm going to choose a region from US South in lower of United Kingdom. And next, it's going to the validation of my credentials. Once it established the connection to the Bluemix, it displays all the spaces I have, asking which space I'm going to deploy forum application to. I'm going to choose Migration Lab. Click next. I'm going to add forum application to the container to be deployed to. At this point, I'm going to click Finish. So what we have right now is we created IBM Bluemix server profile locally through the Eclipse, and we add in a forum application to be deployed to the server container on Bluemix. But right now, we haven't published the changes yet. So what I'm going to do is right click on the server settings and click Publish. I'm going to name it as an easyforum -Daniel Cho. I'm going to click Next. The subdomain is easyforum Daniel Cho. As you see side by side manifest, it picks that up, all this information from this file, and then domain will be mybluemix.net, and the whole string of URL that you will need to use to access your forum application deployed to your space within the Bluemix. This will be it, and it uses the initial memory size of about 512 megabytes. and I want to start an application on deployment. The next, it shows a list of services that can be bounded to your application when you're deploying to the Bluemix. I'm going to check for the forum application to use forum database instance, which I created in a previous section. Create next, as I talked about it briefly in the previous section, we can also add environment variables of your choice at this point by clicking in new, then click finish. So I'm gonna run in the background and maximize console. This will take a little bit of time, so I'm gonna come back and check to see if any changes is happening. At this point, the application I try to deploy is already deployed, but it's going through the process of starting up the servers, and we're going to have give a little bit more time until it completes the deployment process. The first section of a deployment, it brings out, upload all the binaries and packages it needs. It creates something called an DA, droplet execution agent. Once the droplet is created, then execution agent is the one that it's loaded into the repository, and then DA also deploys your droplet into the cloud environment in order to start. So right now, I see that the entire deployment process ended. And now I want to make sure that it's deployed as an easy form to the Bluemix. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to this page. To ensure that application of an easy forum application is deployed to my Bluemix on the migration lab space, and it's bounded to the forum database. So I'm going to do some checks. So I'm going to click on this link, open URL, or you can click on this one, either one, doesn't matter. I'm going to click on this one. Oops, I got 404, which means not found. This does not mean anything when I when I look at the forum sample application, it had its own root context designated through the web.xml, meaning that it's not bounded to the root level of an URL which Bluemix use. So which means it starts with the easy forums and Daniel Cho, so make it as uniquely yours URL for the forum application, and then it appends in my bluemix.net, and then we need to provide root context of forum. Now it starts an application. So we're gonna add admin and its password, and I'm gonna click in login. So this means application has been already deployed to the Bluemix successfully, and it uses the database instance we configured through the SQL database instance. And I used predefined a member using the admin as a member to log in. So that proves that this application is deployed correctly and communicating with the database correctly. So what I'm going to do to further test, I'm going to create a new forum, migration to the Bluemix, to discuss how to migrate to Bluemix. I'm going to create. So now you see the migration to Bluemix forum is created. I'm going to create a new thread. The subject will be how to prepare on-premises application to I say for cloud, and any content you want to use. Then I'm going to post it to the forum. Now you see how to prepare application for the cloud and any content which I create in a thread, and I will probably ask my colleagues to respond to this one to further test the application which I prepared and deploy to the Bluemix. So far we talked about how to resolve incompatibilities in migrating an application targeted for Apache Tomcat to the IBM Bluemix pass, and we discussed how to test the demo and then test the application on Tomcat before migration, and we talked about how to prepare the forum application for the Bluemix, and lastly we ended demo by demonstrating migrating the forum application to the Bluemix and tested the application which is deployed to the Bluemix. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your patience. Thank you. Have a good day.